When setting up the machine for threading solid bar stock or bolt stock, you'll want to cut a few test pieces in order to ensure you get the correct thread length and thread diameter. Firstly, pull the carriage back into the cocked position until the stock stop comes in front of the die head. Then, load your material into the vice carriage until it makes contact with the stock stop. Then hammer your material in the vise. Adjust the stock steady rest until it makes contact with the bottom of your material, and then lock the jam nut. This will assist in loading and unloading the vice carriage when we go into production. You'll need to consult the threading speed chart on the side of the machine and select the proper RPM for the material to be threaded. We've got size of 1 inch, UNC National Course, which is 134 RPM. Coming back to the front of the machine, we can hit the green start button to engage the spindle and use this knob to adjust our RPM. Number we're looking to hit for this 1 inch bar stock is 134 RPM. That will change with different materials. Harder materials such as stainless steel will require reduced spindle speed. Standard cold roll steel, 134 RPM will be just fine. Turn on the coolant, make sure it's flooding the die head. Advance material into the die head until the die head pops open. First, we'll measure and adjust the thread length. I'd like to achieve 2.5 inches of thread on this piece of bar stock. Using my calipers, I can measure the thread that we just got. Looks like it's about 3/4 of an inch. In this instance, our thread length was too short, so I'll move the stop forward and cut another test piece. After adjusting the stop once more, I have achieved my desired thread length of 2.5 inches. Load a piece of material into the machine and confirm. Start our spindle. Turn on our coolant. Advance the carriage into the die head. Grab my calipers. And we're right about 2.5 inches. With the thread length set correctly, we can gauge our diameter. You can use either a mating part, such as a nut, or a pair of calipers to check the diameter. I'm reading 0.997 on my calipers, which should be good for a 1 inch 8 bolt. Let's try the nut. Goes on perfectly. Tight fit. In this instance, our diameter was set right where it needed to be, but many times when doing a test cut it will not. To adjust the Oster rotating die head for over and undersized diameter threading, you will need to first open the die head as if changing dies. Once the die head is open, you can swing the headstock cover door up and out of the way so as to get a better view of the die head. What you'll need to do is jog the die head until you can see the scale for oversized and undersized adjustment come into view. You'll see the scale on the top of the die head. It's marked with a 0, which is going to be the standard setting and then you're marked with a scale from 10 to 30 thou, undersize and oversize on each size. To perform the adjustment, you'll first need to loosen the two nuts on your die head using the torque wrench that came with your machine. Once those nuts are loose, locate the eccentric pin on the inside of your die head, and this is how we'll perform the actual adjustment. Using a flathead screwdriver engaged with the eccentric pin, you can rotate the pin to the right and left to adjust the scale on the die head. Once you are satisfied with the adjustment you've made, you'll need to lock the nuts on the die head again. To tighten the nuts on the front of the die head after making your over or undersize adjustment, you'll again need the torque wrench that came with your machine. When tightening the die head for bolt threading, you will want between 18 and 22 foot-pounds of torque. When tightening the die head for pipe threading, you will want between 22 and 25 foot-pounds of torque. Simply tighten the nuts on the head until the torque wrench engages. After adjusting the diameter, you'll want to cut another test piece to make sure that your diameter is set properly. In our case, we know it is already correct, but we'll cut another test piece just in case. .996. Let's try the nut. Goes on fine.